uncaused moment, that's a Vermeer type phrase. The uncaused moment that is this period. And as the line shows, the period it's talking about is the period that ends that phrase. So I've got an idea now, just seeing that line, not only just trying to incorporate the visual element, but for the poem to acknowledge that it is a piece of art, that it uses things as periods, is interesting. So we want to get a picture of Gein, but now this gives me the idea that the third person speaking in the poem is going to be acknowledging that this is an artifice, and that's interesting, and it adds levels to it. So I think what I generally do is I try to use 10 or 11 syllables in my sonnets, and I'm probably going to take the easy way out and probably do that rather than try to do something more complex, because just out of time constraints. But I think, yeah, the uncaused moment that is this period. That's an interesting, because it's something you wouldn't think about a poem by a killer. So let's try that. The uncaused moment is the uncaused moment that is this period. Oh, perfect, 11 syllables. The uncaused moment that is this period. The uncaused moment that is this. So now, but if I'm going to directly, so I have to drop the period. The uncaused moment that is this comma. Yeah. That is this comma. So right there I've just gone, I had that line, but these lines that I've got here are basically templates from which to, so I've got 10 syllables there because I want that line to flow into. The uncaused moment that is this comma is a bough that for a moment stays. Let's see, that's only one, is the bough. And I'm thinking I'm not going to mention Gein in the poem. I'll have Gein in the title, which will be enough there, and it'll be anonymous. And what that does too is it separates the title from the poem, and it makes them two equal partners that you have. If you read the poem separately, you're going to have one thing, and then the title adds another dimension. And since I want to acknowledge the artifice of the poem and the Vermeer-like dimension of looking at Gein, it gives a number of perspectival insights. So let's see, the uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for a moment sways, is the bough that for but a moment sways, and but a moment sways, because I've already acknowledged the comma there. And so even in the first two lines here, the uncaused moment that is this comma, and there's a comma at the end of this line, is the bough that for comma but comma a moment sways. So the word but uses the comma. It's a comment right one line in the middle of the next line underneath about the comma and the artifice of the poem, and the word but there really shouldn't be in that line, but it's the artist sort of intruding and saying this is an artifice. Now whether or not that works, I don't know, but I think it's interesting. And we haven't even yet gotten to the person yet. So now I'm going back to the original idea. I've got the introduction, I've got the insight into the poem, and now I'm thinking, okay, we want to get to Gein here. Oh, so much goddamn dust. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that, and I also have the use of the uncaused moment for moments sways. So I've got the word moment working there, and I don't mind using that the same word twice in the two lines there, since I'm in these two lines it's announcing the artifice of the poem. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only it relates, as only it relates to the day, as only it relates to the day. The uncaused moment that is this comma, that's 10, is the bough that for but a moment sways, 10. So as only it relates to the day. Let's see. Well, so I got the word day here. So and right now I'm not thinking of doing a Shakespearean sonnet or this sonnet. Sometimes I'll do without rhyme. I did a poem sonnet a couple of days ago, Danae, which was unrhymed sonnet, but with syllabically correct. But now since I've got sways and day in this next line, I'm thinking doing an ABBA, quatrains, and I still don't know whether I'm going to do, you know, a Shakespearean or a Baudelairean form here. But let's see here. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only it relates. As only it relates. Let's see. As only it relates. As only it relates to the day. As only its green relates to the day. Because okay, we want to get some kind of visual element. As let's see. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only it relates to the day, as only its motion relates the day. So that gives me the 10 syllables in that line. As only its motion relates the day. Instead of relating to the day, to relate the day is a more active, because you're taking the image of the swaying bough and it's grabbing hold of the day rather than just being in relation to the day. So the dropping of the to there is good. So let's see here. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day. So now I'm going to look for something, comma, some. It doesn't have to necessarily be a direct rhyme, but I'm leaning and doing at least 2 opening quatrains here. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day. As only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars, and a word like bars always puts me in a Tennysonian type or Yeatsian type mood. What is that? The Pilgrim Soul kind of thing. As only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars, that would infer, beyond the bars that could. Beyond the uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the days, beyond the bars, that the moment infers, beyond the bars, that let's see. The uncaused moment, you're not going to be able to see well because I did right, that's why we'll be typing it, and that's the final thing where I finally polish it. But the uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars. I don't know if I'm going to bring Gein in at this moment, or should I, maybe what might be most effective is not to let Gein come in until the very end. The uncaused moment, and that'll give it a Wallace Stevens type feel. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars. I'm looking for that other mellifluous light of the evening, morning. Okay, I think I got that. So I want to relate something to the time of the, as only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars. That the time infers. Beyond the bars. Let's see. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars. That beyond the bars that the sonnet infers. Okay, now I just had the idea because comma infers is a sort of slant, infer, comma, is sort of a slant rhyme and with the S there, but it works on. And because in just reading here, I was going for the visual, but now I'm thinking not to do that, because the uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough. So the comma is the bough, and so while that's the visual element within the poem, the comma, the artifice of the literature of the poem, the words here, the technique, is what is the bough. And I'm thinking that's something. That's an abstraction. So that's why instead of beyond the bars, I was looking for a visual image. You know, that these bars or that this window infers. But I said, well, if I've got the comma here and the comma is the bough, then the bars perhaps on his gate can be the actual sonnet. And so now I'm thinking of making the actual poem form somehow the thing that hermetically seals in this person. I still haven't mentioned, you know, the murderous intent yet. So let's see here. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day beyond the bars that this sonnet infers. That this sonnet infers as the mellifluous light of evening. As the morning, no, because I got mellifluous morning, mellifluous. As the mellifluous light of morning. And so I've got morning, I don't need that, and I had sways. So I'm going to use some variant of the line, the bough that for but a moment sways, as with stays, and then morning with evening. And probably at the end of this quatrain here, or maybe not, maybe it'll be at the, because I'm thinking of going Baudelairean, 4-4-3-3 in terms of line structure now. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day beyond the bars that this sonnet infers, as the mellifluous light of morning inters his eyes within. That's one of my favorite words. Don Moss thinks I obsess on within and without, but what the hell. Inters his eyes within this space in time. So I get Alvin Lee back in this space in time. And time is also a great word because there's so much that you can rhyme with it. So as you notice, I sometimes keep going, especially, I don't do this in longer 3 or 4 page poems, go back to the beginning of the poem, but with a sonnet here, I just try to get sometimes the rhythms, and sometimes words come to me just by listening to the sounds here. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day beyond the bars that this sonnet infers, as the mellifluous light of morning inters his eyes within this space and time, beyond. And let's see, I got 2 beyonds. I'm going to lose one of them, but I'm just setting the first template here. His eyes within this space and time, beyond that place where he was sublime, beyond. Okay, wait a minute, because I've got comments on, so maybe using the word rhyme itself. As the mellifluous light of morning inters his eyes within the space and time, beyond that joy, undeterred by this rhyme, beyond that joy, undeterred by his rhyme. So now, already here, the first, halfway through, basically, the first draft here, I've already established that I'm too committed now with using the words in the poem like comma and sonnet and...
Just a second.
Oh.
Let me get this reset.
Is that a 90-minute tape or...?
It'll run 2 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we should be able to get that done easy. Oh.
No. Okay.
Okay, I'm kind of liking the way this is going because I was a bit worried that I was going to do something that wasn't at least interesting. I can, it would be nice if I could just boom, 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 pop out a great sonnet. But already from the first time, just looking at the Gein info, I've already gone far beyond what I thought. And now in the first 7 lines here, I've got the word comma, the word sonnet, and the word rhyme. So I've gotten the artifice of the poem well established within the rhetorical metaphor within here. So now the first half of the poem, the uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars that this sonnet infers, as the mellifluous light of morning inters his eyes within this space and time, beyond that joy undeterred by his rhyme, by this rhyme. And I've got some nice little tricks going on here too. For example, the end of line 4, I've got infers, and I've got a nearly dead-on rhyme that starts line 6, infers, inters, and it's just one beat off. And so it's something too that just rhythmically, if you're reading it, and it's kind of, I'm not a believer in metrics, the metric fallacy. I'll rail against that sometime. But by having a rhyme, at the end of one line and the beginning of another line, just 2 lines down, it's something that almost is like a record skipping, and it psychically or psychologically implants in someone's mind that there's a slip somewhere, which is good because that's something that maybe again, again going back to like a facial tic, this is something that just structurally implies a little bit off, something that's just not right, and we still haven't gotten into Gein really here. Inters his eyes, because the only mention is his, so that's Gein doesn't appear, or just his eyes. So let's see here. Now I need to rhyme morning again. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars that this sonnet infers, as the mellifluous light of morning inters his eyes within this space and time, beyond that joy undeterred by this rhyme, where he smiles, where he smiles, where he smiles, where he smiles in a way just seeming, smiles in a way just seeming. So already I've got the first 2 quatrains here. So now I'm midway through, and I'm looking towards the ending here. So now what I'm doing here, because I don't have any in the first 8 lines, I don't have any excess rhyme. So now I'm thinking of the rhyme structure of the last 6 lines, and I'm not going to go 4-2. I don't want to do the Shakespearean, because then that implies too much of a need for a bang, a sacco ending, which generally tends to be moralizing, which I don't mind at times, but I'm going more for the 3-3 Baudelarian or Rilkean end here. So let's see. Where he smiles in a way just seeming to... Okay, because I had the line, smile as a hint of the skull, and here, where he smiles in a way just seeming. So I'm going to take a version of that line here. Beyond that joy undeterred by this rhyme, where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at the skull. To hint at a skull. To hint at a skull. His only joy. To hint at a skull. Only it relates. To hint at his skull. To hint at a skull, which only relates. To hint at a skull, which only relates. Which only relates. And what I'm going to probably do for the 6 lines is probably do A, B, A, and then B, A, B, something like that. Or I might, I don't know, I'll see what the next line brings. I might just go A, B, C, A, B, C. So let's see here. Okay, so I don't have to go back to the first. So, okay, beyond that joy, undeterred by this rhyme, where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at a skull, which only relates to his past, which this poem, because I got the piece on, to his past, which this poem, to his past, which this poem finds so distractive, to his past, this poem finds so distractive, to his past, this poem finds so distractive. So here's I'm just using a word because I like the iv sound. It gives me a lot to play with. Beyond that joy, undeterred by this rhyme, where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at a skull, which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive. Unlike because we have the line, is the bough for that for but a moment sways in the first quatrain. I'm going to put it in the first tercet here too, and that will be the end line summary there. So it's almost like the climax. Let's see. To hint at a skull which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive. Unlike that bough, unlike that bough, which for a moment stays. Unlike that bough, which for a moment stays. So already I've committed now with this relates distractive and stays to usually they go, wait a minute, relates, stays, that's close enough. I could. So now the 12th line becomes important because I don't know whether I'm going to do the off rhyme, just the assonant rhyme of relates and stays, or am I going to do rhyming relates, distractive, and stays. So let's see here. Now I wanted to use the word smallness. So now I'm looking here at things that I have left over that I haven't used. Words like grabastic and smallness, music, and I have to still get in the last tercet, mellifluous light of evening. Mellifluous light of evening. Okay. Since I have that in that one, I'm thinking of... Okay, I don't have to use... I'm not going to use that one, I don't think. Distractive. Okay, okay. I am going to go probably with the off rhyme. Let's see here. Distractive, and there was life. Okay, so let me just get back into the narrative here. Beyond that joy, undeterred by this rhyme, where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at a skull, which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive. Unlike that bough, which for a moment stays, and which only relates to the past, like that moment stays within. And here's probably my final use of the artifice here. Unlike that bough, which for a moment stays within. I'm looking for something on the artifice of the poem here, which for a moment stays within, because I also had the word within up there. Unlike that bough which for a moment stays within the poem, stays within. Unlike that bough which for a moment stays within. And let's see, earlier the bough for a moment sways as it relates to that, which for a moment stays within. Let's see. To hint at a skull which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive, unlike that bough which for a moment stays within the rhythm, stays within its rhythm, within its rhythm, or its beginning. In its rhythm, or its beginning. In its beginning. Okay. Here sometimes is where you can get a little stuck and it takes a little working out because sometimes it's difficult when you've committed to some kind of rhyme scheme or a structure to try to stretch something out. Let's see here. Undeterred by this rhyme where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at a skull which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive, unlike that bough which for a moment stays within its rhythm or its beginning to end. Like his beginning to end. Okay. Within its rhythm or its beginning to end. Within its rhythm or its beginning to end. Okay. So I haven't used any really violent images of him, and I'm loath to do so. I'm probably going to refer to him somehow as a murderer, a monstrous in the title, and let that just play off against the poem. The poem has a very quiet, Vermeer-like feel so far, and I want to sort of keep that so that the title, in effect, almost acts like a pebble dropped into the still water. Now I'm trying to end it here. Now I want to get the phrase mellifluous light of evening to parallel the morning earlier, and I've got beginning, so that's why I use the word beginning, so that I get the almost near the rhyme of the ings there, the gerundives, and distractive is the middle sentence or the middle line in the first terse set. So I'm looking to try to work in and then there was life, or maybe even grabastic in there, to get an off rhyme. I'm not committed to having total rhymes here. But let's see here. Let's try. Sometimes we'll just force it here, and then I'll polish it up later. Where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at a skull which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive, unlike that bough which for a moment stays within its rhythm or its beginning to end, period, and it ends. To end and it ends, and then there was life. 10 rhymes. And then there is life. See, I had and then there was life, but then there is life because we don't want to be looking from the past here. That is this coming, because I've been in the present tense the whole poem, so it gives a very Genesis-like feel here, but I need to get the last line in here. So we got here, well, let's see, the first 13 lines. Let's see if I can wait to get the last line in, and then we can just polish it up a couple of times here. The uncaused moment that is this comma is the bough that for but a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day beyond the bars that this sonnet infers, as the mellifluous light of morning inters his eyes within this space and time, beyond that joy, undeterred by this rhyme, where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at a skull, which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive, unlike that bough which for a moment stays within its rhythm, or its beginning to end, and it ends, and then there is life, the mellifluous light of evening. And then there is life, and let's see, and it ends, and then there is life, and the mellifluous light of evening, which gives a very painterly like port end. Okay, so and the mellifluous light of evening. Now I like this because Vermeer made his appearance in my mind midway through the poem. So now I've got, I don't know if I can hold this up here. Now I've got the whole, you won't be able to make it out because I write like chicken scratch. But okay, it's been what, about 40 minutes here. So I've got the first draft down here. And still the working title is just Ed Gein. But let me read the poem here and I'll explain what the strengths are and the things that have to be tightened up here. So we've got Ed Gein. The uncaused moment that is this comma, is the bough that for, but, a moment sways, as only its motion relates the day, beyond the bars that this sonnet infers, as the mellifluous light of morning inters his eyes within this space and time, beyond that joy undeterred by this rhyme, where he smiles in a way just seeming to hint at a skull which only relates to his past, this poem finds so distractive, unlike that bough which for a moment stays within its rhythm, or its beginning to end, period, and it ends, period, and then there is life, period, and the mellifluous light of evening. So we have the progression, especially, and it's odd, I rarely use rhetoricals, Whitman-like rhetoricals, and in a sonnet, but I think it works in this case because it gives a, I've had a couple of instances here with the slipped rhythm of inters and infers, and words like distractive, that give a sense of him being a little off here, but then, and it ends, so he's caught, he's in some kind of piece, and a word like and just the repetition of it, and gives a sort of, it gives a sort of rhythm that there's some kind of stasis coming to his life, and just the image of the mellifluous light of evening, he's getting older, so, you know, I've got the mellifluous light of evening parallel the mellifluous light of morning. I've got the bough swaying and then staying. So we've got motion in morning, and then we've got staying or a lack of movement in evening. So we get the sense of time, or something has come to us, getting more peaceful. I'm going to have to change one of the two beyonds. I'm going to have to drop. But now I'm thinking what the title is going to be, because now that I've got the initial outline of the sonnet, here's where the title might force some changes in word choices. Now I've simply got Ed Gein. So let me see if I can get a title from any of his life story here. Ed Gein. I don't know if I want to put his date of birth and whatnot under there, but let's see. Ed Gein, cannibal. Ed Gein, waistcoat. Ed Gein, skull. Ed Gein, apple. Ed Gein, gray bar. Ed Gein. Oh, let's see. Ed Gein. Ed Gein. I'm thinking Vermeer. What's a Vermeer type title? Let me, if you could just move your camera, I want to get a Vermeer book and look at the title of some Vermeer paintings, because I might use a play on a Vermeer title. Can I just walk by it?
No, I'll just pause.
Now I just got my Vermeer book here. Vermeer, the great Dutch painter, magnificent light, and I'm going for a quiet time, and Vermeer, you know, Vermeer is the master of that, and I was just finished looking through this book here. I mean, there were some famous ones. Woman holding a balance, and Dylan was just mentioning to me that he thought Ed Gein in the Quiet Horrors, but I don't know if I want to do that, since I think that's implicit in the poem. I want something that adds a little more dimension to it. A lady writing. So the poem Ed Gein doing something here. Let's see. Ed Gein, girl with a pearl earring. This is a great painting here. You can see her cheek there. Just magnificent, the bone structure. Ed Gein. Let me see. Let me just look at the titles. He's got the Vermeer titles. Gotta be no. Allegory of Faith. He didn't do much. The Love Letter. The Art of Painting. Girl with the Red Hat. Ed Gein. Ed Gein with a Ed Gein and the Ed Gein